Nick Walker has confirmed he's headed to the New York Pro.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. And we are back live for another edition of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, joined by the technician Chris Aceto. We are back from Pittsburgh for the first annual Pittsburgh Pro Expo and Men's Open Bodybuilding Show, where $100,000 was won by Derek Lunsford. And that's 2 for 2 this year. He wins the Arnold, wins the second leg of what they're calling the Triple Crown. And he's going to be heading to the Olympia in October. Chris, great job as his coach. I have all these guys texting me all day long, and all they're saying to me is, everyone thinks Nick got ripped off. I said, yeah, everyone except the judges and the guy sitting in the front row, in the second row where we sat at the show, who actually got to see what was going on. So it was obviously a nail biter. It was a tie going into the it was a tie, and they actually had like a sudden death pose down, and it came out in Derek's favor. So we heard, your opinion, my opinion, but now that you've had some time to digest it all, give me the analysis.
Well, I'm hearing rumors that when they gave the piece of paper that had Nick's name on it as the winner, that Bob Chick announced it as Derek. So
you're funny. Save face.
There's going to be an investigation into that. I forgot the question, Dave. That's how tired I am.
What's your analysis of the weekend? In other words, people want to know why Derek won, and I'll give you my opinion in a minute, but I want to hear your opinion first.
Well, I mean, we can go pose by pose with the last call out, and I think that to really draw the distinction, they needed the last call out, which, if it was tied. I mean, I have my opinion, which is obviously biased. But I try to take a neutral opinion. I mean, Nick looked incredible. I think that there was an expectation that it wouldn't be close, and obviously it was more than close. It was tied. And the judges put him through the ringer. The ringer at the end. And I think that Nick was better at night, and I think that Derek was definitely better at night. And that's obviously one shot you got up on the screen. It's just one shot, but Derek was fantastic at night in the back shots. His Christmas tree was better. He's probably the only guy in the show with a Christmas tree, which could be better, could be still better. His Christmas.
I think Martin's came in at night. It
Yeah.
wasn't there in the prejudging. Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't there at the prejudging, and I think you have to analyze really to treat the show fairly, which the judges did. Obviously, you got to go pose by pose, because there's poses that I think that Nick won, and there's poses that Derek won. From my vantage point, sitting in the 5th row. Yeah,
I think that there's a, I'm a Nick Walker fan. I really like his physique a lot, and I think a lot of fans do, because we like freaky muscle, we like conditioning, and there's an underdog aspect to Nick, because he missed the last 2 Olympias. He wasn't his best at New York Pro last year, and you want to see the guy come back and reclaim his grandiosity that he had prior to that. And I think that it was close enough that the Nick Walker fans wanted to see Nick win. But being I had no horse in the race that you did, but I had no horse in the race. And I sat there and, I'm a guy who likes Nick's physique. I like Derek's physique too, but I had to sit there and say, who sticks out in my mind? I didn't think it was not close. I thought it was very close, but I also thought that there was no doubt in my mind that Derek was the winner. And I don't know why, but my eyes just went to Derek, more dynamic. He had more wow factor. Nick was dramatically improved. I'm sure Bob Chick was shaking in his boots at how good Nick improved and how much better his physique is, but it wasn't better than Derek's in my estimation and the judge's estimation on that night. And that's just the way it is. We were sitting there. If I wasn't in the second row, I wouldn't have such a strong opinion, but sitting in the second row, you were a little behind me. I felt that it wasn't close. You kept asking me. I said, I don't think it's close. I think Derek's got it. And I said, he's the winner. I said, is this a great look for Nick? Yes. Will he do New York Pro next week and probably win? Yes. And he did announce, by the way, Chris, that he will be doing New York Pro next week. He wasn't sure at first. I'm sure he just was pissed off that he lost. But he is, one thing I noticed about Nick, he wasn't as, it seemed like Derek had more energy on stage than Nick did. And it's usually the opposite, right?
Yeah, I mean, I saw that point too, but people are going to say that you're biased because, you're friends with me, but that's the way I saw it with you. I was, frankly, I didn't think I said last week, it's not going to be a slam dunk. And I meant that. I always, and I didn't think it was a slam dunk, but I thought that, I kept on. I asked you because I heard that it was really close, and I thought that Derek was winning, and I was trying to make an argument for Nick in my mind, and I couldn't. But then you can, you can if someone can. Obviously, the judges can.
Let's go post by post here. Front double.
I think that for me was like Derek.
That's Derek to me.
Without a doubt. That's not without a doubt. I mean, he just looks incredibly V-tapered in real life.
Yeah.
He opens up, and at certain times, that's not the best picture of when he's opened up. But when he's not fully into the pose with the arms back, but when he's really opened up, it's a super V-taper.
Yeah. He's got that those big lats that pop out of the sides that really make a big difference.
Taper. And it's hard, regardless of how big like Nick's arms are, to win that shot against Derek at that show.
Yeah. Front lat spread.
Derek, because of the V-taper again, he's got like a.
Yeah. I think Nick should hold his hands lower, don't you think, around his waistline a little bit more? It's a kind of an awkward pose for him.
Well, I think it may elongate his torso a bit, so maybe that's why the hand positioning. But I don't think, regardless of where he would hold the hands, that he'd win this pose. So in my mind, when you're watching the show, it's like, okay, there's two poses.
I'd like to see Derek vacuum that pose too, like he does for the front double.
Yeah.
I think he would look even better in that pose. His waist would be tinier. Side chest. Now, this is where a lot of people think Nick won this pose. I probably would give it to him. What do you think?
Yeah, Nick won this pose.
Yeah. And Nick, you know what? One of the things Derek does wrong on this pose is his foot, that's facing the audience, is a little too far forward, and I think he's not getting the hang on the hamstring because he's not squeezing his thighs together enough on this one.
Yeah, I think you may be right there.
Yeah. But it's a good shot for Nick. Back double.
Derek.
I mean, you can just see glutes and hamstrings. I mean, that's his shot. I mean, the lower lat, insertions, he's really thick down there.
Oh, it's like the Hunchback of Notre Dame on the back double,
Exactly.
There's a lot of beef there. There's not only a lot of thickness, but the width. And then I think Nick's more developed in the hamstrings, but when Derek is tighter in the glutes and hams.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he took that shot as well.
Lat spread?
Same thing. I thought Nick brought up that lat spread, but I thought that Derek is wider in the back, and he's got trap thickness thrown on top. You know what I mean? He's got like, he's thick in the back lat spread, not only wide, but like, you know, he's got traps. You can see the traps
right
on the back lat spread.
Right. Yeah, he's got a lot of density in his back. Side tricep.
Side tricep, I thought about a lot. I like, you know, Derek was tighter in the lower body for sure. Nick's got a bigger arm and
bigger side leg too.
Yeah, and so I thought I liked the way, like the shape of Derek. So initially I would say shape, and then I'd say Nick's size. And so since I couldn't like make the argument for Derek here, I wasn't quite sure I'd give that one. I can see that one going to Nick too, even though I think in real life, for me, in real life, Derek looked more conditioned in it than, I don't know about you.
It's a little, he had a lot more wow in that pose, but Nick had a little bit more, you know, pop in some of the pose, some of the things. The one thing I was worried, not worried, but I was like a little like weirded out by, Nick didn't seem like he was smiling the entire time he was up there. He seemed very stoic almost, and I don't know if what the reason was behind that, because usually he's like, you know, beaming up there. I wasn't getting the energy, and I wasn't connecting with Nick as like I normally am. Like when he won the New York Pro, like that last time, and you know, not last, even last year, he wasn't his best, and he was still connecting with the audience and everything like that. He seemed very like I don't know, maybe unsure of himself, or maybe just very stoic. I don't know. I think he has to really allow his personality to flow out like he normally does. I think that's important for him, because he is very charismatic normally and pulls the judges. And I think Derek was way more charismatic at this show.
Well, here's what we got so far. I gave the front 2 shots to Derek, side shots to
Nick, and then the back 2 shots to Derek. So you're 4-2 right now.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the next shot. Ab thigh.
I gave it to Nick.
Okay. So now you're at 4-3.
Yeah.
And I think the first pose was the most muscular. That's not really good. They're both really not in pose here.
I gave it to Nick.
Oh, so but then you're tied, according to you got 4-4 then.
Yeah.
So then what wins it for Derek in your mind?
Well, because there were shots that in my mind, that the shots that he won, he stood out more on, if that makes sense. Front double, front lat, back shots. I thought like, okay, they're not slam dunks, but they're definitely strong wins. And then side tricep, in real life, I think you could make the.
I was going to say I gave the side tricep to Derek in my.
I know I know people I asked. I don't want to say their names, you know, because just people beat up on them. Like I said, you know, what do you think? And they said, no, I gave him the side tricep too.
Yeah.
So that one I was not 1,000% sure on. So even though they said side tricep, so that one I gave to Nick, and the side chest I definitely gave to Nick. So, but like the back shots and the front shots, I think he beat him more than, let's say, Nick beat him on the side chest, side tricep. I think most muscular, though, I think Nick is very dominant on.
Yeah. Well, Derek usually wins it for me on the back shots. This shot, this is what won it for me. You know, that front double was just very, very deadly. And I thought that when I saw that shot, I'm like, this guy's the winner.
Yeah, well, when he was able there, he's like opened up more. When he was really opened up, it looks really, really big on stage, like really big. And I don't know if, you know, it's captured in pictures or videos, but
I think, you know, some shots, and I hate to say this because it's true and it worked against me too. Some shots count more than others. And let me explain what I mean by that. I mean that when the judges look at certain poses, they just give it more credibility, and it really influences their decision as to who wins. And I hated this because these were not my best shots. Front double bicep, standing relaxed. Those 2 poses are huge.
I knew you would say that.
You got to remember, when the judges are thinking about things and evaluating, the guys are standing relaxed there. When the first pose you hit, and probably the last pose they hit, is front double, right? So it's just a quintessential bodybuilding pose. Derek won those two poses in my mind very convincingly. And I think at the end of the day, when the judges had to make a decision, Nick or Derek, that's what won it for Derek. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but that shot has more value in value. Because remember, there's no point system. You're not judging on like gymnastics or ice skating where you're actually picking certain skills and giving it value. It's an overall impression as a judge that you have to make when you make a decision. And I think that those two poses won it for Derek.
Yeah. I judge it in my mind, Dave, always by like with me, if like I have someone in the show, like the worry factor. The minute I start worrying, like then I know it's a loss. And so that sounds terrible or arrogant, but like I never worried because I was like weighing all those things, like stand and relax, front. You know, I mean, the front double front Lunsford back shots were pretty strong wins for Derek. You know, but of course, you can't discount Nick's side chest. By the way, it's monumental. Which is a phenomenal shot for him. But you know those shots, what you mentioned, stand and relax front double. I did get a little, the little worry factor came in, you know, when they hit the most muscular because Nick's is like chart busting, you know. And I thought like, gosh, you know, that could have a big finishing role because it's the last pose and it's the one in which Nick looks like just gnarly hard and gnarly big. It's like if you could come up with the best, most muscular right now in the sport, it's like Nick's and Samson's.
No,
and you know, so those are poses that you don't want to, you know, compete against because they're hard for anyone to beat.
But you know, but like I said, I keep seeing over and over again, you know, the people who watched the show online really felt that Nick won and convincingly. And like I said, I didn't watch it online, so I don't know. I watched it in person, and I'm giving you my honest opinion.
Let me ask you this, Dave.
Yeah.
Whose condition was better?
I think that Derek from behind was better.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can't. But from the front, you know, Derek always has the ab problem where the abs are not deeply etched. So it looks like he's not necessarily in condition from the front, but that's just his abs. But when you see that back double bicep, I mean, that tells you who's in shape. I mean, you know, I can give them even. I'll say they're both conditioned evenly. Let's put it that way. I thought that Nick can still be tighter, and I think Derek can still be tighter in certain areas. But
I agree with you on both of those.
I don't think either one of them were their absolute best. And maybe if Derek looked at like he did at the Arnold, people would say, all right, yeah, he convincingly won. But he was good enough to win. It's you know, you don't have to always be your best to win a show. You know, he was still really good. And I think that a lot of the people online, once again, they got a certain perspective watching the live stream that we didn't get down there in person. And it was that close. So everyone's going to have their own opinion. If you like Nick's physique better, then you're going to pick Nick. If you like Derek's physique, you're going to pick Derek. And that's just the way it is. And it was so close that the judges couldn't really decide. They flipped the coin. Let's look at it from this perspective for a second. Derek is qualified for the Olympia already. I mean, he as Mr. Olympia, as winning the Arnold. He didn't need. This was the show he was doing, and he was done. Nick Walker, on the other hand, has to qualify.
Yeah.
Okay, Nick Walker wins Pittsburgh. He probably shuts it down till the Olympia. Guess what? Now Nick Walker has to do New York, which he actually confirmed he's going to be doing. I'll pull it there. Confirms he's in New York. He's coming for the win. He's going to try to be the only guy to ever win the New York Pro 3 times, get 3 rings. That's going to be awesome. I have no doubt that he has a very good shot at doing it. I know Regan Grimes is going to be in the show. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But this is good for business too. You know, number one, not only just good for the promoter's business, Steve Weinberg, but it's good for Nick Walker's business too. So this sometimes in the loss, you actually get a benefit from it. You know, it used to help me when I would get, you know, second places all the time, and it would be, the magazines would cover me more because of that. And I got a lot of publicity and I got a lot of guest posing from it. So this is going to make Nick Walker more popular, not less popular. And he shouldn't look at it as a negative. He should try to see the positive in this, because if he comes into New York next week and he wins in front of that New York crowd, which is his hometown crowd, you know, he's from Jersey, it's going to be huge, you know, and people will be talking about Nick. People will forget about what Derek did. They'll say Nick won 3 New York Pros. He just won $30,000, which almost brings him up to the same amount of money that he would have won had he won just Pittsburgh. So I don't think there's actually a negative for Nick. I think this is only a positive. He showed that he was able to come back at his best. He pushed Derek Lunsford, who's Mr. Olympia and the Arnold champion, right to the brink, yep, which says, I'm up there with these guys. I'm top 3 at the Olympia come, you know, October. And now he's going to get to do New York Pro because he's got an excuse to do New York Pro. Whereas if he wins Pittsburgh and then goes to New York, people say he's trophy hunting or he's prize check hunting. This way, he gets to do the show and he gets two bangs out of it. It's really no extra steam off his head. You know what I mean? It's not like a big deal. It's not going to deplete him any more than if he would have just done one show. So I think this is actually a good thing for Nick Walker.
Well, I mean, you got to make, you know, lemonade out of lemons, whatever that saying is. But I'm sure, you know, it's always a tough loss, no matter what, simply because you're at your all-time best. And you know, if Derek had lost, I mean, what's worse than losing a tied show? You know, it's
no, of course the guy who loses is going to suck. It's like losing in tennis when you're tied at the end and you got to.
It sucks when it's like that close, or you know, it's tied, because if it was Derek who lost, or if it was, you know, if it was Derek who lost, or if it was Nick who lost. If it was Derek, I'd say, like, you know what? I wonder if he was tighter on Thursday, or it should have been, you know, maybe he should have been fuller, or maybe it should have been this or that, or maybe, you know, all the maybes, no matter who you are, start to enter your mind in terms of what you probably should have done retroactively to, you know, get that extra point. I mean, the point or whatever. I don't know what I don't know how they decided it, you know, at the end, if they tallied up all the scores again.
Tallied up, yeah. Everyone voted. Yeah, that's how they did it.
You know, the interesting thing is, I was kidding with Derek that the Olympia, right? It's a 2-day show. And I always say the Olympia is like 2 shows in one.
Right.
This was 3 shows in one. It was the pre-show, it was the finals,
right,
and it was the 3rd show, which is the tiebreaker.
Right. It was a long day for these guys. You know, I see people writing like, "Oh, Martin was better than Derek." I'm like, these people clearly don't know what they're looking at. I mean,
well,
guys,
that is Dave. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And frankly, that is the problem with commenting with authority when you're not even at the show.
Right.
Because Martin was nowhere near his best.
Right.
And to say that based on any video or any photo, I mean, you probably could find photos where, if you're not at the show, you say this guy should have placed higher, but the placings were the placings. And in fact, the placings, I didn't really check the scorecards, but I had at the night show, Martin 3rd, but I had him like solid 4th after prejudging. Like,
yeah, I had Bonak beating him too. Yeah,
for sure, Bonak was better in prejudging, like markedly. So I was surprised when they showed up at night, and there came, you know, Martin dramatically better.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, that's the problem when you have an internet, you know, audience, you know, voting or deciding who's going to win and who's not. You guys, listen to me. I promise you, if you were there in person, it was different. And there were plenty of people there in person who thought that Nick should have won too. But the bottom line is that, you know, it was not a blowout on either part. Even if you think that Nick should have won, it would have been by a hair. Okay, yeah. So both people won by a hair. We're not saying that Derek decimated Nick. It wasn't. It was that close. It was so.
Dave, I wonder too. I mean, I don't really care because Derek won, frankly, but I do wonder, just for the idea of wondering, you have in prejudging, Nick won. In the finals, Derek won. And I wonder if that was just, if the judge who had Nick, who flipped it in their head. I mean,
Right.
I don't know, but I wonder if it was two, because it could have been only one judge who had Nick ahead in prejudging switched at night.
Right.
That one judge determined the show. Or it could have been like two judges who said, like, you know what, I have Derek in second in the prejudge, and now those two judges switched, and another judge who had Derek in first switched to and had him in second at night.
Right.
Just to illustrate the razor thinness of the judging cards.
Right. Right. Like I said, I don't think I wouldn't have had a problem if they would have flipped the switch. I mean, obviously you would have because you helped Derek, but I in my real deep down in my gut, I had Derek winning. And you know what? It was just an impression that when you're there sitting that close, Derek looked like the winner to me over Nick. And I don't know if it was because Nick wasn't smiling or Nick wasn't as engaging as he normally is. My eyes were constantly going to Derek's physique, and that's the best way I can explain it. I mean,
when I asked you about who was in better condition, my gut was that overall it was Derek, because when we did the wrap up with Phil, who's a conditioning guy, he used the word polish, and I think he got a lot of criticism, like what's that mean? What's that mean? And I think polish is something that you can only see, not you can only, but you can mostly see in real life, and polish falls into the realm of conditioning more than anything else.
Yeah.
Not saying by any means that Nick Walker was not rock hard, but there's like a polish to, there's the intangible of like Derek's
glutes and hamstrings were ridiculous. Let's put it that's what even Phil said. Phil's like, I'm a glute hamstring guy, and Derek's got the glute hamstrings from hell. And that's what beat Hadi Chopin at the Olympia when he won it.
Dave, the side tricep, for example, where I was stuttering on where I would give it, to Derek or Nick, and Nick's legs like an elephant from the side, but Derek's legs are he's got like three lines that I don't think show up really in pictures and video. I think it does in video though, where you see just stuff really pulling, if that makes sense. Like the skin's pulling while the quad, the legs are pushing.
Right. Look, Derek being a former Mr. Olympia, winning the Arnold Classic doesn't hurt either. It gives you a little bit more momentum and a little bit more gravitas in the judges' mind, too, as this is the guy to beat here. Did Nick beat him? Not really. It's a tie. So it's a tie. You give it to the champion. Not that there was a champion of the Pittsburgh before, because this is the first time they held it, but he was the guy who was the reigning, not reigning Mr. Olympia. He's the reigning Arnold Classic champ, and he's the former Mr. Olympia. I think that gave him a little bit more gravitas. And they figure, you know what? Nick's still coming back. He can do New York next week. Let's get the best bang for our buck. And I think that's what happened. They picked Derek when it was all said and done. And Nick will be in New York next week, and it'll be another great show. So, I think the fans actually benefit, because if Nick had won, he probably wouldn't have done New York, and you wouldn't get to see him again. So we all get the benefit of seeing Nick 2 weeks in a row. Chris and Sid will be there in New York. Obviously, I won't be able to have my kids that weekend, but it's going to be another great show. And I know that I believe Regan Grimes is doing the show, and everyone's telling me how great that Regan looks.
In summary, Dave, I honestly, my gut was I left prejudging or watching the show. I thought that Derek was winning, and watching the show, so impressed with Nick. Just super conditioned, super improved, phenomenal side chest, phenomenal most muscular. I knew that Derek was ahead, and I knew that he would not, that for sure Nick would have first place votes. I just didn't think it was tied. So the idea that who did I have winning was Derek, but at no time did I think like this is like a slam dunk, or I just thought like I just didn't think it was tied. I thought it'd be like whatever, like 4-2, you know, like Nick a couple first place votes and Derek, you know, ahead 4-4. You know, I thought it'd be split. I just didn't think it would be tied. So just to give, you know, context to like the way I saw the show, it was certainly no blowout whatsoever. I know people say, of course it wasn't a blowout. Nick killed them, but I mean, just the way I saw the show, and I, you know, I told I said relationships between me and bodybuilders who I coach have been ended when I've told them you got lucky or I didn't have you winning. I've told people who won that you should not have won, and that was the end of my coaching experience with them.
Yeah,
it's translated as, you know, so that's my 1000% as objective as I could be the way I saw the show.
Well, coming, you know, the one thing we really didn't discuss is the fact that Good Vito, another guy you helped, had to pull out of the show because of a lat tear a week out from the show that started getting worse and worse. Obviously, blood.
You can post those pics because I feel really bad for him.
Oh yeah, I mean, that could have changed the whole trajectory of this show, because I think he would have been a factor in that top 3, and who knows how it would have turned out, because he would have stolen a couple first place votes. I don't know. How do you think that Good Vito would have done in this lineup?
I think you post the pictures, then I'll do the commentary.
Talk while I'm trying to pull them.
I think he could have won 2 poses, and I don't know who would have been second and third in those poses. Those are not the pics I sent you. I wanted you to post for the.
That's Sid putting that up. I'm pulling the pictures right now.
Yeah. So what happened with Good Vito was Saturday. By the way, he told me Saturday he had an injury training back, and of course I said, well, I'll be there Tuesday and don't worry about a thing. And then Sunday he said it's like incredibly painful. And he started taking like lots of ibuprofen a lot, and the pain went away. And then I get there Tuesday, you know, Monday said I'm pulling out of the show. I said no, you know, I'll help you decide on Tuesday. And Tuesday he had under his lat like a little bruise, but like a bag of water. So when you hit your front double, he's got like deep serratus on both sides, obviously. And one was like covered. And are these your pictures, Dave, or no?
I'm still pulling pictures.
Searching for the secret pictures.
Sid's putting up stuff right now. So hold on.
So and then Tuesday morning I saw him crazy early, and he couldn't hit a side chest and side tricep, because you know when you're cooking, let's say, eggs, and you use a different pan that like the whole entire handle heats up as hot as the pan, and you touch the pan and you drop the pan immediately. That's how he was on the side chest, side tricep. So he couldn't hit it at all. He'd like
this is the shot you sent me.
Yeah.
Chris.
He couldn't get into the side chest or side tricep at all without like immediately pulling his, you know, like his reflexes to like when you touch a hot stove. And then at like 11, he said, I'm pulling out for sure. And I was like, you're not. And he sent me a picture of it, just suddenly all black and blued in like 5 hours between like 5 a.m. and 10 a.m. And so we got in an Uber and went out to Tyler, because I mean, what's worse to like say like, oh, I got a little injury, and you know, I wanted the promoter, you know, Tyler, to see it. And when he tried to like, I mean, just Tyler knew immediately, you know, hit a front double and it was like a water basket below the armpit. So Good Vito didn't want to, you know, Good Vito's goal was to in his head, he was like, anything outside top 3 would be a loss. And why do I want to present? You got the front double, Dave?
trying to think what I don't know why I'm trying to. You sent me so many pictures of him. I'm trying to pull the right one.
Well, I sent you the video too of the front double. You can put that up.
Oh, you want me to put that up? Okay, hold on.
Yeah. You know, why would I want to come in looking like that? And walk away.
So you want me to just put those 3 videos you sent me? That's what you want me to put?
You can put the front double up from the hotel room.
That's what I'm saying. It's a front double like video. Is that the one you want?
Yeah, you can put that up.
Hold on.
He's in Russia now. He won't see that. So it was just, you know, thank goodness that he was qualified for the Olympia, you know, and he's already qualified because there was no doing the New York next week because he can't do I mean, if you saw him, Dave, and hit the side chest, you'd see him immediately. When you can't even get into it, like you just jump at the. Dave, you diagnosed it as a nerve impingement or something.
Yeah, a lot of times when you get a lot of swelling in that lat area, it pushes on that nerve in there. And if anyone's ever taken a bad shot in that area and you hit that nerve or you even come close to it, it's so traumatizing. It's like you actually feel like you have hot acid going from the lat down your shoulder through your arm into your fingertips, and you want to smash your hand against the table because the burning is so crazy, and it's all from that causing that nerve to fire. So I'm sure he was in a lot of pain.
And you can't find that video.
I got it. It's coming. You know, I have to email
proprietary stuff, Dave, that Nick's Strength and Power have to lift off.
Oh my God. Yeah. You know, it's a shame. I hate seeing guys missing, you know, the contest, especially the last. I mean, that happened to Nick Walker. I think Nick actually contacted Good Vito about that and to give him some, you know, a pep talk.
Yeah.
Because who the heck wants to have to miss a contest, you know, a week out? You think you're so close. You do your last workout, your last back workout, and you tear something, and it doesn't even feel that bad at first, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. It's like a nightmare scenario.
Even, you know, on like lat pull downs, he can do the stack for 15, like it's on any machine.
I know.
And he felt it on the warm up of the 80 pounds.
It's the craziest thing. You know, it's always a freak accident. Most guys, there are guys that do get hurt doing some super crazy heavy stuff in the gym, but a lot of the times that people get injured, it's doing something silly, reaching for something, you know, or a warm-up set, and they, you know, or slipping on the ice like Branch Warren or Evans. I mean, it's the silly slipping on a staircase like me. It's the silliest thing sometimes cause the most major damage. And
Dave, I'm going to the New York Pro, and I planned this for 7 months. I'm going to the New York Pro to support Noel Adami. And I've said on this show 2 weeks in a row, there's no slam dunks. This show for him was a slam dunk, New York Pro.
Yeah.
And he tore a quad walking.
Oh my God. Really?
He's got like a micro tear in the middle of the quad. And he was just walking, and that was it. He felt something like give. And so the freakiest things, right?
So what happened? His leg blew up and everything like that?
Yeah, he can't even move it.
Oh, shit.
So he had to pull out of the show.
That sucks. That really sucks.
And I just talk about freak, you know, so whether you're doing a walking or you're 260 pounds, 5'7", and you're doing pull downs starting with 80 and you feel something in your lat, it goes back to what Steve told me a long time ago about competing. He told someone, a pro, I was in his office, like, you know, the pro's like, oh, I'll wait till the last qualification of the year. And he's like, what if you get injured? You know? And he's like, well, I have no injuries. And because Steve was trying to encourage him to get the qualification over with, you know, and, you know, get a win. And he said, well, what if how many people have eaten something bad 3 days out?
Here's your video. Hold on.
That's not it either, Dave.
That's the front double you said in the hotel room.
Oh, take that one down. I'll resend it to you, Dave, if you can't find it. That's not it. Just don't even
that's not it?
send it to you if you want to pause it. Just
Pretty
don't
freaky.
want to put up something that's not it.
All right.
Forget it.
Send me the one you want. But all right, but look,
From Henderson, Nevada.
I don't know. What are you putting up, Sid? What's that from? That must be from the Brazil show. He would have been a factor. I don't know how he would have done, but it would have been interesting to see him in this lineup. That's for sure. He's going to obviously shut it down till the Olympia. He's already qualified because of his win at the. Here's Nick. Sid, what are you putting this up for? We're not even talking about Nick right now. All right, there we go. Going into New York next week, Nick Walker confirmed now. Chris, you'll be there. Regan Grimes confirmed. Sid, do we have an official lineup yet? I tried to look online. I didn't see an official list of all the guys doing it. I know Krizo's doing it. You want to talk about Krizo? Let's talk about Krizo. Let's talk
about third and fourth before.
All right. Yeah, you're right.
Krizo didn't beat those guys, so
no. Let's go back to the show here for a second. Let's pull up some Bonac. But I thought Bonac was really very impressive here. And I think you would agree, on that. I think him and Martin had some real good, very close. I think Martin was, the lineup's not really set. Okay. I think Martin was a disappointment in the show for me because I thought Martin was, I was sitting next to Stanimal and he thought that, what's his name, was going to win, Martin, the whole show. He was almost willing to bet me. I should have bet him. There's Martin versus Bonac.
Yeah, Martin made a great turnaround between prejudging and finals because in prejudging, I didn't have him anywhere. I just had him solid, not third. I had Bonac solid third. And then Martin was markedly better. I think this is the night show.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much he changed between Derek got better, Nick got better, but Martin got like a 2 days.
Dramatically better, yeah.
Looked like he looked like he sat in the sauna for 2 hours while he was in there, and while he ate 1,000 carbs or something because he just so much better at night.
I think that Martin overcarbed, to be honest with you, and because he looked very big and full when he walked out at prejudging, but it was not a good look for him. And as prejudging went on, because it was really long, if you notice, he started sweating at the end, and he actually that's when he started to start looking better, when all that water came out of him. So when you force or try to force too much glycogen into the muscle and you overfill the muscle up, you can get a blurred look to your body. And I think that's what happened. He lost all that detail. Phil said it in the wrap-up we did at the prejudging. You can't give up your gifts. His gift is conditioning. That he brings that fine detail in his lower back, in the Christmas tree area. He's probably one of the only competitors that doesn't have any skin on his lower back, when he hits the back double. And he gave that gift up. He to come in a little bit bigger, to say I was 8 pounds bigger than the Olympia, and I don't think it worked for him. I think that it was a mistake. He's not going to make it again, that's for sure. I wonder, you think he'll do New York? I mean, he doesn't, right? I mean, that might not be a bad idea for him to go to New York.
I think it's a bad idea not to go to New York.
Right. I think you got to get a little bit of.
Because you know what, Dave?
Even though he's qualified, I think I would still go if I were him.
At the end of the day, everyone can have a different look a week later. Some of it not great. It's Nick Walker, so it's Nick Walker. I expect him to look probably even better, or at least the same. But, who knows what could go wrong in a week. I mean, one guy's doing pull downs and tears a lat. Another guy, I can't believe I ate the same stuff the last 2 days.
Right.
And I'm not even as full or as tight or it was last week. So
last year at the New York Pro,
anything can happen in a week.
Yeah. Last year at the New York Pro, Nick came in a little too full and not hard enough, and Martin came in peeled to the bone. Even though he was smaller than he is here, it was a better look, and a lot of us thought that Martin should have won New York last year over Nick. And then this year, it's like turned around. Like Nick comes in tighter, better, and Martin comes in too big. And, it wasn't even close, because Nick has so much more size than him. So Martin cannot play the size game because he's not the biggest guy up there. His thing is that he can bring size with conditioning and detail. Same thing with Derek. If Derek tries to come in too big and he gives up all that detail that he brings, he loses. I mean, it happened, last year. So I think that Martin has to go back to the drawing board and say, you know what? I can't worry about how big I am. I can't worry about being the fullest guy on stage. I got to just come in sliced to the bone because that's what wins me shows. And that's what these guys want to see from me. And that's what pushes my physique over some of the bigger guys because I have more detail than they do. And I think that if he decides to do New York next week, I think it will be good for him because it'll get his head into the right space. I wouldn't shut it down at this point because I think for him, this was a disappointment. Not the fact that he took third place, but the fact that he wasn't at his best.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm sure he wanted to win. But there's, at the end of the day, that's the goal is to beat your previous best or to be close to your best at a minimum, because, and that's, when you're judging a show, you're judging what's in front of you, but also you're judging what you previously looked like. Not judging that, but the impression is, for example, when Nick came out, right? Take you 3, 2, 1. Yeah, he's at his best. So it's when you're judging a show, you sit at the edge of your seat and you say, "Wow, this guy's contended to win it for sure," because we have high expectations and he's already beaten it. Hasn't even a shot yet.
Bonac to me is unbelievable. He's so impressive now. He keeps getting better. We're going to see him at probably at the New York Pro. I think he's already decided he's going to do that. And he's pulling a Milos. He's doing all the shows. And you know what? Good for him. He's 42 years old. He still looks great. I think that he did. This is from prejudging, I believe, but he even looked better at the night show. And he pushed Martin. Fourth place in this lineup is a victory for William. No one has a better arm than he does, right? That side arm.
he's got crazy.
He's got a bicep on top of a bicep. Looks like.
He's. I can't finish the sentence because he's impressive. Period.
Yeah.
I think he was bigger in Detroit. I think than he is here.
Yeah, he might be.
Because in Detroit he was crazy round. I think he was maybe a little sharper here, but so there you go. Same bodybuilder can have two different effective looks.
I think he's as good as he's ever been, to be honest with you. So I mean, I think the guys he's competing against today are better than they were when he was, winning shows, 2 years ago or 5 years ago. But he's as good as ever. I think it's a great look. He just won a show, so he's winning shows. Yeah. I'm talking about when he was winning like Arnold's or
yeah.
Second at the Olympia. So, and people are calling Krizo the new Paul Dillette, but I I don't think it's really an apt comparison because Paul Dillette was
Krizo had the
crazy legs,
the craziest, most muscular in the IFBB. I would take his most muscular over probably anyone's. It just gets, when he hits it, he just triples in size. It's so gnarly. The shoulders, the arms, the pecs, they're so deep, strided, full. He just, he doesn't have, the problem is you put him on a side chest next to Martin or, who's, who do we just talk about before that? Bonac, whose hamstrings drop down to their ankles. That's where he loses a lot of ground.
That shot is impressive. But you know what? When I said you took my other pose, I was trying to show his lat spread.
I think his back doubles nuts too.
What I wanted to show. Let me just put up what I want to show. So you see that most muscular is so freaky, and then you see this front lat spread, and you can see his legs are kind of weak in the adductor compartment. He's got great quads, but he's kind of shallow in there. He's got a very long torso, and he only looks good when he's crouched over. You know, his crouched over shots look good. And I think that, you know, like you said, he's got a good back double, but I think that the problem is that, you know, his Instagram pictures are so insane because he's got the most amazing arms and chest. And, you know, he's got a pretty small waist, but you can see the legs they're just not up to snuff with that upper body. And, you know, even his back is not that, you know, there's not that much. Well, he's got very small glutes, even though his glutes are striated, they're small.
That's Ali Bilal keeps calling while we're doing the show. Should you get him on the show, Dave?
Oh yeah, you want to get him on and see what you want to do.
Text him, and I don't know how to text him and tell him to call in for the link. I'm sure he'll come on.
Ali Bilal is the most entertaining person to sit next to when you're at a show, because he's got like a never-ending commentary on everyone and everything, and I can't stop laughing. He's one of the greatest characters. He should definitely be on one of our TV shows for sure. He should be on the Whack Pack show, I think, because I'm trying to see if I have his number. I must have his number. Let me see if I can send him the link.
Here, I'll tell him that Dave's gonna. Hold on, Dave.
All right. He's dying probably to come on and give his opinion. I don't know if I have his number. Sid, do you have Ollie's number? I thought I had it. I don't have it. Can you send it to him? Can you send him the link, Chris?
Sent him. I said Dave wants you to come on.
Oh, okay. So you sent him the link? Good. Send him the link I sent to you. All right, let's talk New York Pro. Oh, you know, I wanted to bring up one other thing, Chris, before that. I wanted to bring up the classic physique division, because Rough Diesel won the classic physique in Pittsburgh. And there was one thing that I didn't like. I really, really liked. I know you're a Rough Diesel fan, and the guy is an absolute freak, you know, but, you know, this Josema or Jose Manuel guy is unbelievable. I thought that was a bad decision. I thought that was the only bad decision of the night. What do you think? Let's pull up some pictures of Jose Manuel.
Dave, I didn't watch the show, but I watched.
You did watch the show. You were there.
I did not watch the classic. But
you made me stay for the classic.
No, I stayed for not the comparisons, and my impression was this. This is my impression watching Jose and Rough Diesel come out to do their own like individuals. Jose, I like rubbed my eyes and I thought, oh, good, thank you, Jose. Now I know what conditioning is, because it was insane, right?
Better than anyone else in the show, for sure.
Miles. And Rough Diesel, when he came out, I thought by comparative, right, that he was going to look soft. And when I was watching Rough Diesel, I thought this. Dave, I thought this right immediately. I said, this is going to come down to personal preference, 1 point. And I thought that Rough would win based on this, because I've seen him in comparisons where he maximizes his shape in the poses to look, quote, more classic than anyone else in the lineup. And I thought, if it's close, it's going to be 1 point, and that's how he's going to win. But the flip side of me said, but how do you deny that condition? So I didn't see the comparisons for the prejudging. I wish I had.
I just showed them to you, yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got to see. Let me see. Let me see the back or anything. I can't tell from that.
Here's your back pose. You know, these pictures don't even do Jose justice, because he was so impressive in person, because his conditioning is so wacky, you can't even capture it.
Dave, this is the exact. You know, people are going to say, and of course I can't. I could care 2 cents, but to put it in perspective, only to give you context. People are going to say, that's because Chris is lobbying for Derek. You have to be there sometimes to, pictures and video do not show what you see 5 rows back, because this kid looks conditioned, like out of his mind in this picture, but in real life, I'm serious. It was conditioned where you go like,
whoa.
No, where you say, as somebody who preps people, I wonder what he did to look like that. You start saying, geez, I wonder if he did like 3 hours of cardio, or I wonder if he did no carbs, or I wonder if he did maybe he did like no carbs, lots of fat,
right.
3 hours of cardio.
Right.
Because you can't grasp how he ended up looking like that, because it was like, when you say skinless, it was skinless and waterless. So for that reason, I didn't know, judges are going to just say it's just too much. The condition is too much, first place. Yeah. And he's going up against somebody who's bigger than he's been in the past. And, I've always said on this show, Rough Diesel's incredibly dangerous.
Yeah. I would have been more upset if I were this guy losing to Rough Diesel than Nick was losing to Derek.
The reason being is because anyone who was there, anyone and everyone, judges are going to, all they can say after this show, what do I get to do to improve? Every single judge who didn't have him first is going to say, which is, split, they're going to say, nothing. You looked nuts.
Right.
So that loss is probably a hard loss to take, besides being 1 point, which is different than a tie. You know what I mean? That one, but the condition was just astounding.
Yeah. Sid, will we see him in New York? Did he commit?
If that condition, oh my gosh, that condition is astounding. Full stop.
Yeah, it's just.
And honestly, I would love to know what he did, because it's so impressive.
Sid's going to DM him. If he doesn't go to New York, he's out of his mind, because
oh God,
he's got to go to New York and win that and qualify. I mean,
totally.
That's a no-brainer. I got news for you. He's going to be a dangerous guy on the Olympia stage.
Big time.
I don't think that Rough Diesel will touch him on the Olympia stage. And I'm a huge, I love Rough Diesel's physique, but you know what? This guy is in another orbit. He can get a little more, maybe a little more full. I don't even know if he needs more fullness, but even a little more fullness might, he's probably having trouble making weight, I'm sure.
You can't say, right? If you can get more fullness, you can't, there's nothing else to criticize.
Yeah. Now,
because you know what the funny thing is? I understand what you mean, because he can't improve on the condition. So you say, but he wasn't flat.
No, I know he wasn't. That's why I thought, I actually didn't even really pay attention, because I didn't think it was even close. And then when I heard that Rough Diesel was announced in first place, I'm like, what? I thought maybe he dropped out of the show. I was very surprised at that decision. But yeah, it is what it is. Like I said, I mean, you can't say Rough Diesel didn't look good. He looked good, but it's apples and oranges. I just thought it wasn't close. This guy's taller. He's got better conditioning. His coloring was good. His posing was great. The only thing I don't really like about what he does on stage is that he kind of hits a lot of his shots from the side. Yeah. And I think that's a mistake a lot of guys make. He's got a small waist. If you got a small waist, hit those shots straight on, because it makes you look like narrow, when you do that. And I don't know why people think that looks better. It doesn't look better. You can't, as Arnold would say, you can't hide your physique. You got to kind of show it, And that's so the only thing I could give him criticize, criticism would be.
Look at the pecs. Look at the leg.
I know. It's just nuts. He really, for classic, he really had no weaknesses. Like I said, other than the fact that I would have liked to see him hit some of his poses a little bit more conventionally. I think that he was the clear-cut winner in my mind. If people complained about this guy, I would be 100% behind you, because I was sitting right there. I'm like, this guy's, and like Chris said, this guy's conditioning was next level. It was like Dorian, Yates conditioning. So congratulations to him at peaking there. I hope we see him in New York, and then we'll see him on the Olympia stage.
I'll get a deal week, Dave. I train with him, and he does a diet, like something baffling. Right? Like must have done 3 hours of cardio, tons of fats.
Yeah.
6 weeks.
Speaking of classic physique, I was surprised to see Ramon Dino was there. We got to take a picture with him.
Yeah, he guest posed with.
Yeah, that's great. I loved seeing him there. That was awesome.
The whole gang guest posed. Yeah, people got to see the Keon versus.
Yeah, the Keon versus. Yeah, pull those pictures up.
They got to see Sommerfeld next to, all the other, Ramon and Grego and.
Yeah, pull those guest posing pictures up, so that you can. Those that's fun. I thought that maybe Manuel wouldn't do the guest posing because he was doing the big open show, but he had both, which was great. That's not what we're looking. Oh, that's the same guest posing. Yeah, he looked good up there. It's funny because I didn't recognize him because he didn't have any tan on when we took pictures of him, and then he must have put a tan on backstage going out there. Actually, that Jose Manuel guy kind of has a very Ramon type physique.
Yes, he does.
They remind me of each other.
They have similar like structures.
Yeah. Yeah. Ramon's in good shape for guest posing, that's for sure. See if you can pull up the Samson Dowda and the Keon Pearson posing. We saw Keon at the show. You weren't in the lobby, I don't think, at this point. When Keon came over to Cormier and I was sitting in the lobby with them, and he was in sweats. He looks like a Sherman tank, this guy. He's so big, because he's short. In clothing, he looks like literally like, and you know who also looks like a little tank? Sean Clarita. I took a picture with him. This guy is so wide. He might be wider than he is tall, Chris. I say that not jokingly. I took a picture. I put my arm. This guy is literally as wide as he is tall, Sean Clarita.
Keon walking around looks like Kai.
No, he does. He's like a short guy.
Yeah. Just like you say, wow, that's a lot of muscle.
Yeah. Super. Look, it was a superstar weekend. Everyone was there. It was great.
Keon and Samson are like Samson's in incredible shape for like being a month away from having competed.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen him out of shape. You know what I mean? He gets a little off-season-ish, but he never gets like sloppy. He has that metabolism, which is weird. And we talk about this with like Akeem. Guys like Akeem, Samson, even Andrew, off-season, they're never really that out of shape. They don't get fat. But to get these guys in shape, it's like you got to torture the shit out of them to get them in shape. It's like their bodies don't want to change. Their metabolism is so insane that if you try to make them get leaner, their body resists. If you try to get them bigger, their body resists. They'll grow, but they won't get fat. It's like a
thermostat. They got a thermostat. They got those programmable thermostats that don't go any higher than like 80 and lower than 65, no matter what you do.
Exactly. I did a very funny video with Akeem Williams and that NDO guy. I don't know if you know who that NDO guy is. He's hysterical. I did a video at the booth. Sid will put it up this week, I'm sure. It's this guy NDO is so crazy, but in a good way. He's got millions of followers on Instagram. He does the nuttiest videos of all time, where he walks around like he's
because the videos, Dave, the videos are fun. The videos are like something that someone else would do. They couldn't pull it off. He'd say, "How stupid!"
Right.
You want to watch one of those videos and say, "Stupid."
There he is. And he's got to. This is him walking to Pittsburgh from New York. He finds the craziest characters too. He's got this one fat guy that he always does all these videos with. I don't know if you've ever seen his channel. I watch his Instagram because he's so funny, and he makes fun of this. The guy must be a comedian that he works with because the guy is like, he looks like he's 400 pounds, And so I said, listen, I was supposed to get him on the TV show, and it never happened. So I said, listen, we got to do a video at the booth. So I went to the MHP booth there. And
Dave, one other thing. I mean, there's a lot of other things about the show. You know, you were there, I was there. Nobody bitched and moaned about the lighting. The lighting was fine.
Well, they did. Not only was the lighting great, the backdrop is great as well. They had a dark backdrop with still having, the sponsors on there, but they had a black-based backdrop, and it looked really good when you took pictures against it. JM I forget who JM told me he did the stage thing, but the guy is amazing. Did a great job. That show, first of all, let me just tell you something about that show, because I talked to JM for a long time about this Pittsburgh show, and I talked to Jim about it too. The amount of planning and the amount of effort that went into this show was monumental. Believe me, Jim Mannion did not want to do this show because he knew what it was gonna take to do this show. Between unions and this and that, and it's a lot of work. It's a whole, and even Tyler said it on stage. It's like you have to have you have to have a staff dedicated to just that show, and it's a once-a-year show. It's a lot of work, and you know what? I take my hat off to them for doing it, because you know what? They didn't have to do it, but they did it because they did it because of the fans, and I'm sure they lost money the first year. You don't make money on a first-year show, so I applaud the Manions for doing that, because it was really a labor of love. And what I really love seeing, what's his name? Who used to work for the Arnold people? Matt Lors. Matt Lors was intricately related in doing that show. He was, I know Robin Chang was the one who orchestrated everything, and Robin did a great job. But Matt Lors was there. He brought in a lot of the strongman stuff, and he helped with the expo. So they really brought in like a super team of people to do that, to put that show together. It was packed. I wasn't there on Sunday, but it was packed on Saturday. They did a lot of local advertising, which is very expensive. You know what it costs to put up a billboard, Chris? It's like 10 grand for a billboard, and they had like a lot of them all over the city. So the people would know that the shows. They even had them in the airport when you got off the plane. So they did it. They did it right. I believe next year it'll probably be double the size. And I bet by the third year, you'll see it be triple the size. And you know what? I hope they keep raising the prize money, because 100 grand first place, second place to Nick was 50,000. That's a nice paycheck for these guys to take home for their efforts.
Yeah, nothing's better than to, when it comes to like a contest, there's so much work, obviously, that goes on that people don't see behind the scenes. And so it's great when you get a great turnout. Ticket sales are strong, sponsorships are strong, but it's great when the prize money's there too, because the behind the scenes to get to a show, as a professional, I've been in the sport, you've been in the sport forever. And even at the amateur level, the sacrifices that bodybuilders make, you sacrifice so much to become a pro bodybuilder and to become a elite pro bodybuilder, whether it be, do you really get to see your family? It's the most selfish sport that's 24/7. So it's great to see prize money all year long increasing, and then just the number of shows, of course.
Yeah. And, if it weren't for that New Tech equipment company, which by the way, I love their equipment. I was using it while I was there. They had a whole big setup there. New Tech equipment company and Seth Feroci's company, Axe and Sledge, they put up most of that prize money for the men's open. So without those two companies, that show doesn't happen. And that's a lot of money that was put up. That's 150 grand just for the first two places right there. So those guys really, really went above and beyond. Yeah, there's the video of me trying out there. I always judge a company, Chris, by their hamstring curl machine. If you got a good hamstring curl machine, I know you're a good company, because a lot of people think a hamstring curl is just like a flat bench with a little thing you pull up. But the angle, you see how they have that nice little angle on there?
Yeah.
And where you can put your elbows and rest it. That's a comfortable bench. It locks your hamstrings into the absolutely perfect position to feel the maximum in your upper hamstrings and those where it ties into your glutes. I love this machine, and that's how I know this company knows what they're doing, because like I said, most companies the machines are just, it's a flat bench you're laying on, which is super uncomfortable, and you have no place to put your elbows, and it's like you're just holding onto the side of the bench. So good job, New Tech. I told him, I was talking to the guy who was the head sales guy there, and I said, listen, if I ever, because everyone's always telling me you should open a gym. I said, if I ever opened a gym, I would open a gym and I would outfit it with mostly New Tech equipment. I think because that's how good the equipment is. So I'm very happy that they were able to do that. I'm also very happy that Steve Weinberger told me that, and I know he announced it on his Instagram too, but they're giving away $30,000. That's the highest prize ever for New York Pro. Remember, Steve doesn't have the level of sponsorship that this expo had. So to give 30 grand away for the first place in New York is awesome. And I have no doubt that at some point in the future, Steve will get that show up to 100 grand too. So I wish I was going next week. I can't, obviously, because I got my kids, but you guys will be there covering it. It's going to be an awesome show. I know Regan Grimes is in it. I know Bonac's in it. Krizo's in it. Obviously, Nick Walker's in it. We don't have an official lineup yet, but I have a feeling it's going to be another one for the ages. You guys will do a great job, I'm sure, covering that. And like I said, I'll be missed. Are you going in early for that one, Chris?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. I plan to go Thursday, but I may go down Wednesday night.
Yeah. Okay. Now, who are you helping in that one?
In the open, Sas Heirati.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Sas is in that show too. I forgot that.
Yeah, he looks incredible. What day is today? Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah, he could be on stage by tonight if he needs.
What do you suspect we'll see from Regan Grimes? He looks very big from the pictures I've seen, but I haven't really seen any like posing footage or anything like that.
I don't know because I haven't really seen his picture. I can't even recall. When's the last time he competed? 2 Olympias ago?
I don't even know. Yeah. So do you know when the last time Regan was on stage?
A long break.
He obviously took some time off to grow. Obviously, he has a kid now, so I'm sure he wanted to spend more time with the baby.
Yeah.
But he's ready, supposedly. And what's his name? Stanimal told me he looks great. So he must have seen some pictures of him.
Well, Stanimal made the prediction for Martin.
Yeah. I said, you sure you want to take that prediction back right before they got on stage?
Make a prediction because you know what? Anything can happen. And I saw Martin's physique at night, and I'm like, wow. In prejudging, I thought like, like he just looked so off to me. And at the night show, I think, gosh, that's impressive. Better,
but still not better than Nick or Eric. Yeah.
The point is timing. It's obviously that he's right there. I mean, a week is a long time for him to improve.
Yeah.
I guess what I was trying to make the point is anything can happen. I mean, you could be great on Thursday. That's why predictions are hard, right? I mean, I'm sure when Stan made that, he wasn't talking bull crap.
Right.
So if he had seen him on a Thursday, people can go downhill in 2 days and people can improve a lot in 2 days. And I've seen people 2 days out and thinking, someone I'm coaching, I'm coaching Dave Palumbo and, John Smith I see on a Thursday and everyone's talking about John Smith. And I said, I just saw him in the gym. He looks terrible.
Right.
And then sure enough, I'm coaching you, Dave, and we take the loss. Because
let's announce it officially, Chris. I will be doing the Olympia this year, getting a special invite. Chris will be coaching me.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to announce it now, but we might as well announce it. I'll be at the Olympia in the men's open.
Super Masters.
It's funny. Phil said he would do the Masters Olympia, if you noticed. When we had Phil Heath doing the wrap-up of this, he said, I would do the Masters Olympia, but they got to have to put up a lot more money for first place for me to go do that show. And you know what? Kai essentially said the same thing. Although Kai wants to be paid before he even goes to the show. He wants an appearance fee. Phil's willing to win the money at the Olympia, but they want more money. I don't know what it would take to get Phil Heath there, but if you can get Phil and Kai on that stage, I mean, that alone, for nostalgia purposes alone, would be, even if they both don't look that great, would be amazing, right? I mean, what would, think about how popular that show would be. If I'm that promoter, I would find some freaking crazy sponsor to give them, to put up some crazy money for that show and make that happen. Because Phil Heath versus Kai Green, oh my God, that would be insane.
Yeah. The build up to the show.
Oh, the stuff that we would have to talk about. It's funny because when Trump won the election, this last presidential election, all all the the liberal media were all complaining, and I don't remember who said. I don't know who said it, but I think Patrick David might have said it. He said this is the greatest thing to happen to the liberal media in all the last 5 years the last 10 years, because now they have stuff to talk about again. So same thing with this. It would give us so much stuff to talk about if Phil and Kai were going to go up against each other. Like I said, even if they didn't look their best on stage, it wouldn't even matter. Just the fact that they would be coming back, and Kai would be trying to get revenge on Phil after all these years, it would be phenomenal. So, guys, make it happen. All right, let's wrap this thing up, Chris. It was great seeing you, great seeing Sid, the whole team this past weekend, all the fans and all the people who came up to me. I had a great time. It was Jim Mannion's still looking great at 81 years old. He gave a great speech. His grandson gave a great speech as well up on that stage. And it was nice to see The Rock made a video, basically telling Jim how much he loves him and how much he supports him and how much he supports the show. So that was a great weekend, very enjoyable. It was short but sweet. And you guys will be in New York next week. But for now, we are out of time. And as we say every week here at Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
We'll see you next time.